Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
My name is Kathy Tuccaro, and I'm calling from Timbuktu, Northern Canada. I'm in the middle of a
Okay.
mine of the bush. I'm very far up north. It's snowing here right now, major snowstorm.
How
So,
many inches?
last night it snowed all night. A major blowout, a couple inches, maybe 3, 4 inches last night. So I work 13-hour shifts. I'm on night shift right now. So if I sound a little raspy, it's because I've been working hard. Uh,
Okay. And what I wanted to do is talk about your past leading up into your present. Whatever you want to talk about, you have the
all right.
floor.
Well, boy, where do you start? I was a nurse for 13 years and had a great, wonderful career. But at the age of 40, I crashed and burned really hard. I showed up to work one day and I had 10 patients to look at, and I was working night shifts again that night, and I had 10 patients to care for. And as I'm looking at my sheet, I couldn't see the words. I could not. My brain could not function. I could not read. I could not understand anymore what I was reading. And I knew right then and there that I couldn't pretend anymore that I was okay. I mean, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. I was so tired from life, and I had known like the year prior to that moment that I was really mentally exhausted. But you need that paycheck, right? You got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I was telling myself, you're tough, you're a survivor, just keep going. And I just couldn't. And so I went from the medical unit where I was working down to the psychiatric unit, which is 2 floors down, in my nursing scrubs. Like, I quit my job. I told my supervisor, that's it, I'm done. And in between the 2 floors, it's as if 40 years of repressed pain, inner turmoil and trauma, it just came gushing out. And I was pounding on the locked unit, because it's a psych unit. And I'm saying, like, let me in, let me in. They actually called security, get her out, get her out. Yeah, they did.
You know, I get it. I get it.
Like, I must have looked really crazy. I'm in my scrubs. Anyway, they literally dragged me. Two guards dragged me down to the emergency ward, where they put me in a rubber room so I wouldn't hurt myself. And it was there for the first time in my life that I actually spoke to someone about the things that had happened in my life, leading to that moment of complete breakdown. And when that happened, that's when I realized, like, I spoke for 2 hours straight with this psychiatric doctor, but I was sure he was going to, kind of stamp me on the forehead and send me away for a 72-hour evaluation and, give me some happy pills. But I said, so are we going to go? And he's like, go where? I said, well, aren't you going to lock me up? Aren't I crazy? And he's like, oh my God, my dear, no, 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 no. He says, there's no amount of pills in the world that's going to fix you. He said, you need to fix you. And he said, look at the list of what you just told me. And he says, no amount of pills are going to fix that. You need to actually go into treatment and to deal with that. Number one, you need to quit drinking, because over the years, my drinking had escalated, and I was a full-blown alcoholic. And he says, you need to quit drinking and go address this. So I did. And that was in 2008, and that was the beginning of my change, of the growth. Change doesn't happen overnight. I ended up losing everything I owned on 2011, because I hadn't dealt with things that I should have. And what I mean by that is, I was molested as a very small child in a foster home. I was physically, like, we had so much violence in our home. My safe space was the doghouse. I kid you not. I would go in there because that was the only place I could hide. I was raped at 14. I was attacked at 15. At 18, I was drugged and raped in Miami from a photographer when I was modeling down there. At 19, I was gang raped. I tried to commit suicide three times, one after the other. Lots of inner pain and violence, and I could not tell anyone. I didn't feel that I could speak about it. Like, my mom was an alcoholic. Both my sisters were into drugs. I'm by myself. I'm in Montreal. I felt like it was a he said, she said moment, and no one would believe me. I didn't really have proof. And it was all these things. And this inner child that grew up with no self-esteem, and pain and suffering, it was very difficult for me to have a voice. So I just didn't, right? So my way of dealing with it was to not deal with it. And so I left Montreal and I crossed Canada. I figured, geographical change of space would help. And I went into nursing instead. So it was very easy for me to care for other people on a physical level. It's easy to be distracted. And I always thought that, if you're dying of cancer or you have a broken leg or you got, all these wounds, and it's a lot worse than, my little problems. And so I just didn't, you lock it away inside in that vault. Well, over the years, what happens to, say you have an infection in your finger and you don't take care of it, what happens, right? The infection gets bigger, bigger, bigger. You still don't take care of it. It can become gangrenous. You can lose your finger. Well, same thing goes with the internal wounds that we carry. The only difference is that it comes in sneaky. Like, it'll affect all this inner turmoil. It rots, it festers inside. So it affects your brain. It affects how you think, how you feel, how you respond, the decisions that you make, the choices with the men that you choose, or female, whichever, whatever. And so even though I was a nurse and I have this great profession and I'm really good at what I do, the inner Kathy, I couldn't seem to function or cope. I ended up picking men that were extremely violent from 2000 to 2007. It went from bad to worse. I was with two different spouses. And I mean, I should be dead 10 times over. I was strangled 3 times to the point of losing consciousness. I lived with a shovel on my deck as a reminder of what I was going to be buried with. I was under constant death threats to be sold into human trafficking. I had a bodyguard follow me everywhere I went. So even at work, he'd show up on my breaks just to make, like, the amount of stress. Like, I talk about it and I have goosebumps right now because it was so awful. The amount of stress that I had, and I had a 10-year-old daughter at the time. And so she was kind of in the middle of all this. And so I had to send her away to her dad's just for safety reasons. But then that left me wide open for, to disappear and, never be heard again. Luckily, I had faith, and it's my faith in God that really got me through this. If I didn't have that, I would not be alive, and I'm 100% positive. So back in 2008, that moment when I lost my nursing career, that was because I had just escaped my psychopath ex and pretended that I was okay, right? And just kept trying to put one foot in front of the other. But I mean, I'm not Superwoman, and it finally just crept up on me. Well, once that I realized the amount of issues that I had to deal with, it takes time. I mean, there's a lot of layers of trauma that I had to actually go internalize and look at. It's as if I had to unlearn everything, like take everything that was brainwashed into me, that I'm no good, that I'm ugly, that I'm stupid, that I'm fat, that I pollute the air, that I'm a waste of skin, all these horrible things. I had to go unlearn that. And then I had to relearn who Kathy really was or is. And the hardest part about that was accepting how freaking awesome I am.
I have to cut you off, but whoever told you you're not pretty and you're ugly, I told you from the beginning, you are beautiful. Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So it was a process. I had to live in a women's center for a year. It was faith-based. So it was like Monday to Friday, learning, boundaries, learning to say no, self-esteem, anger management. I had to take a 12-week sexual assault recovery course. I had to do that twice. So there's a lot, but I did. And when I did that, I realized I couldn't go back. Oh, no. When I did that, I relapsed anyway. And I'm thinking, well, what did I forget? Like, I did all the work. And I'm saying this to all the addicts or alcoholics out there. They know what I'm talking about, because you're like, you relapse and you're like, well, Jesus, I'm doing all the work. What's going on? But there were certain things that I had chosen not to, tuck away. Just let's just leave that. No one needs to know. Well, yeah, no, that came out anyway. But I ended up drunk and homeless, and I lost my nursing career. I slashed my arm. I don't remember doing it. And this is where my change came in. On the 7th day of being drunk and homeless, I had my head on the table, and I'm looking around these very sad individuals, and I'm like, how does this happen? Like, I'm educated. Like, I should know better. Like, how does this happen? And I had been robbed. I had no identification. I literally had the clothes on my back. That was it. And on the 7th day, this man named Toothless Joe, which to this day, I swear he's my guardian angel, comes up to me. He slaps me on the back and he goes, "This is the life, live it, love it." And I'm like, it was my God moment. It was a God smack, because in that second, it's as if decades of depression just shattered. And I understood something really clear, that my purpose in life was not to be standing drunk and homeless beside that guy. So although I had nothing, I had enough sense to make a decision to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to not be here and to get away from him. So I turned around and I went to the hospital. I detoxed for 2 weeks and I went back to that women's program. And I said, listen, I'm not leaving till I figure this out. And I did. It came in the form of a spiritual moment, but it's pretty intense. I'm not going to talk about it here, but it's what I needed to change, to understand. My thinking pattern was a little off. So once I understood that it doesn't matter what men think of me or people think of me, it matters, like I'm a precious child of God. And it was so transformational that it changed everything. So I knew I couldn't go back to nursing because I'm too easy to fall into old patterns. So I said, well, how am I going to change careers? I'm 42 at the time. Like, I don't know what I like, what I don't like. I don't know who I am. So I went to a career planning workshop, 3-day workshop. And the lady after 3 days gives me my sheet and it says heavy equipment operator. I laughed so hard, I just about fell off my chair. I'm like, you've got to be joking. I'm like, come on, man. Right? I said, I'm 42. I'm a woman. I don't even like equipment. I'm not mechanically inclined. Right? It's like so not my career. And I said, it's a man's job. And she's like, no, if you'd believe in yourself a little bit, Missy, you'd see the test is right. So I'm sitting back with my mind closed. I'm thinking, I just wasted 3 whole days. Like, come on, man. Until she puts on this video of Les Brown, the motivational speaker, where it's possible. If you have a dream or a goal, don't ask yourself if you can achieve it, but ask yourself rather, is it possible? So I started thinking, well, I'm a good driver. I used to race cars. I could drive a truck. Right? Well, little did I know, the truck I would be driving in the future would be the biggest truck in the world. The lady sent me to this program we have in Canada called Women Building Futures. And it's a nonprofit organization where companies sponsor women to get into the trades. So the day I walk in, another God moment, was when ExxonMobil, the biggest oil and gas company in the world, are there sponsoring 16 women. So they paid, the course was $18,000. They paid for it to take a 12-week heavy equipment operator course. And I mean, there's a lot of women applied. There's a whole process in getting chosen, but I got picked. And out of the 170 women, they took 16. I got picked. I did 12 weeks. And it turns out that every piece of equipment, I freaking superstar, man. I was good. And I'm like, oh, I got this. And the empowerment, oh my God, how good I felt. So they hired me. They only hired 11 out of the 16. I got hired. That was almost 10 years ago now. And I literally operate the largest equipment in the world. It's an open pit mine. The truck that I drive, I wish I had a picture. Oh God, I wish I had a picture.
Do you need a security clearance for it?
Oh yeah, hang on. This is worth it. This is worth it. This is the truck that I drive. Can you see?
That's Whoa, me. Big That's boy.
Yeah, I know. This is the first day on site. I hadn't even been on the truck yet. And I'm going like this, and I'm actually crying because you can't see that, but I'm crying because I'm thinking of Toothless Joe. I'm thinking of 2 years before that moment. Here I am, drunk and homeless, not knowing where I'm gonna get my next drink of water. And I'm like, how does this happen? If only Toothless Joe could see me now, right? So
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How, like, your job with the cat machine and everything, like 10 years you've been rocking it. You've been doing wonderful things for the community. And do you see yourself probably being a public speaker or speaking at schools?
I am. I've been doing that for 5 years.
Tell me about that. Let's dip into that.
Once I got this job, I realized that God did not leave me on earth to sit at home wasting precious time watching, useless TV programs. So I started giving back to the community. I wrote that book. That book is in 5 languages now: English, French, Spanish, Portuguese,
Get out of
Hindi.
here.
I'm not kidding.
You go, woman. Oh my God.
I've been busy. I wrote a children's book. It's in 5 languages. It's for kids that are sexually abused, to use my story and to tap into to an internal source. Because when you go to other countries, that you can't really change a social structure, but there's so much sexual abuse going on. It's sickening. And they couldn't read my book, so I had to create a book that was for them. So I had this graphic designer. He makes the most incredible spiritual pictures based on my own story, based on my dreams and my own thing. And so, yeah, that book I give away for free. Everywhere I go, I make a point of going to women's shelters, to schools, to juvenile homes, to prisons. I create community events, and I do it all for free, because it's not about the money. It's about creating a ripple of change worldwide, that change is possible, that your past does not define your future. You can change anytime. You can start the process right now, right today. All it takes is 1 minute of a moment of decision. That's it. Because that's all it took for me. I mean, I literally had nothing, right? But now I mean, look at my book. I mean, look where I am. I created a screenplay. So that's why I moved to LA. I'm trying to get it turned into a movie. There's so much going on. I speak worldwide at different venues for just about my story, but it's also about life, about inspiring other people, because everybody's suffering. Like right now, I'm going to Dallas November 13th to the 16th at a women in trucking conference, right? And I'm a speaker there. So who'd have thunk? So yeah.
I am so proud, like seriously. Like, wow. So I have another question. The question goes like, you've been doing this for 10 years, speaking for 5 years. And where do you see yourself? Like, if you had to give a piece of advice, I don't want to cut you off that soon, but if you had to give a piece of advice to the young entrepreneur out there, what would it be?
Don't give up. I've come across so many obstacles, and it could be overwhelming at times, but I think the key that helped me, and I'm not even near where I really want to be, but the key that helped me get to where I'm going through all the steps is I started to believe in myself and not listen to what other people had, their opinions or their ideas for what I should be doing. Right? It's my life, and if people don't agree, well, that's on them. I had to really tap into that internal fire inside. Find your drive, find your purpose, your reason. And people say, well, I don't know what my purpose is. You can tap into it. You have to be able to, number one, like I said, believe in yourself, love yourself enough. And 3, do the work. Nothing comes easy, but you have to do the groundwork. There's good days, there's bad days. You have to learn to recognize when you need to take time for yourself and just pull back a little bit, but don't quit. I mean, if you quit, then what? Then what? I mean, even if you don't think you succeed, well, in my opinion, redefine what success is, right? It doesn't have to be like, be like Oprah or Tony Robbins, but man, the amount of people I've reached with my little book has been thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, right? It's just unbelievable. So just keep plucking away one step at a time. And anybody can reach out to me at any time too. I'm always open and I always respond. So yeah.
And,
I was just on Let's Make a Deal on the show. It aired 2 days ago.
No way.
Yes.
Hold up. This is killing me. Hold up.
Yeah. It
I
aired
read everything. I didn't even know. It doesn't even say that because I read it.
I forgot. It aired 2 days ago. I'm Designer Minor. That's my new brand.
What is it called again? Let's Make a Deal?
Let's Make a Deal with
oh my God.
Yes,
really?
Yes. Yeah, I'm a minor, Designer Minor. That's my new brand. Everything I do. Oh crap. I now have a bobblehead figurine. I got to You want to see it? I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, get it.
You're gonna get a kick. You're gonna get a kick out of this. I get a kick out of it. I'm 53 now, and I'm like such a kid. If only Tooth Joe could see me now. Seriously, look. I'm a little
Oh,
bobblehead.
that's
There's my
you.
there's my truck. Oh, there's my truck that I drive. Right. It says Kathy Power. It's got Dream Big on it. And yeah, that's my little. so, so yeah. For anyone not that are going through a really rough time, a lot of two things that I really think are important is number one, get rid of the toxic people in your life. Even if that includes family, I had to step away from my own personal family for a few years because it wasn't healthy for me. You have to put yourself number one. And negativity, which is everywhere, it can only affect you if you're on the same level. I really, really believe in vibrating higher than the rest of the population because it gives you a different perspective and you can look at things and look at people and their behaviors and what do you really want in your life. You have to do a lot of self-analysis. Like in other words, you have to train your mind to be stronger than your emotions, or you're not going to make it. You have to, sure, it's okay to cry, sure, it's okay to have all these feelings, but you have to overcome that. You have to rise above that, and you can't do that if you're on the same wavelength as every other person. You literally have to pull yourself out, look at around, look at your situation, and what can I do to change? What can I do to fix this? And honestly, if you're not humble enough to accept that you've made mistakes and it's okay, but it's also okay to forgive yourself and move on, right? So yeah, that's basically it.
And how can the people reach you?
They can reach me on Instagram, designer minor CA. I had another Blue Star blogger where I had 32,000 followers, but somebody hacked my account and I can't get in it anymore. So I don't anyway. So designer minor CA.
It's kind of scary.
It is because they still keep using my account and trying to get other. It's one big scam thing. Instagram hasn't responded. I'm so upset, but what are you gonna do? So yeah, Instagram and just my name, Kathy Tuccaro, on Facebook. You know, my website is my name, and I have a contact page. I have a whole list of resources for anybody with addiction issues. There must be over 100, between 50 to 100 resources from all over the states that are on my website. I'm in the middle of creating a new website. It will be done next week for the conference. It's designerminor.net. And I'm creating an online course, the 7 keys to, the 7 keys to changing your life or designing your life after trauma. So I just have the steps on there. I just got to add the video. So I'm a little busy. So yeah.
Based on, I have one more question. Based
Okay.
on your whole knowledge and everything you know, I just wanted to know what is your goals for the sorry, somebody just knocked at my door. So, okay, let me rewind. So, what what based on what you know as a nurse, would you say that our emotions through the DSM-5, because I know you know what that means, are tagged through our emotions and not a real mental health issue, because we all suffer from happiness, sadness, angry. We all get the same emotions, but
Yep.
some get more than others. So, what is your input on that? And then we'll close.
That's kind of a tough question because everybody, I believe your upbringing has a lot to do with that. And people are more sensitive to other things. Like I'll give you an example. Me and my 2 sisters raised the same hell, excuse my language, the same awful, sorry, raised in the same environment, and all 3 of us responded differently. Like my one sister, she was filled with hatred her whole life and is just learning to overcome that. My other sister spent her whole life on drugs and alcohol, and she's just got a few years clean and sober now, thank God. And then there's me, who is very sensitive and, you know, taking everything personally when really it wasn't. So I can't really answer that because it's so tough. I mean, there's chemical imbalances. There's, you know, how do you know now if you're ADDH or if you're borderline personality or bipolar, or like there's so many issues. And I'm not a therapist either. So, but I do believe that if any person at any given time wants change, that they can tap into themselves and figure out, okay, this is an emotional thing. Okay, let me just stop right here, through your own self-talk, and get the help that you need. You know, you're having a bad day. Self-analysis is key. Even if you got to carry around a little book and write down, this is causing me to feel like this, or this is causing me to feel like this, then documentation of that is going to help you recognize, okay, here's some triggers, here's some triggers, here's some triggers. What can I do to fix that? Because I think the problem is that people are looking for other people to help them, when in reality, it has to start with you. It has to start with you recognizing, okay, I have an emotional imbalance here. What can I do to help myself? Right? So I don't know.
You said it well said. And last thing I wanted to say, it's not a question, but the doctor said that you have to help yourself, like you said, your doctor said, right? And that's what makes it powerful, because that's, you've learned and grown from that. So I would like to thank y'all for joining this episode of the Kimberly Cloud Show, and I will be back on here later, and y'all take care. Thank you all. I see you
Thank
all.
you.
Bye. Hold on, stay on the line,
I will.
Kathy.